Irene Perry. I'm a biology lecturer here at University of Texas, Permian Basin, and I'm mainly responsible for the introductory labs in the general biology classes. I always knew I wanted to do science, and I liked the practical aspect of applied science, of field work, and so I have done that professionally, somewhat field work and lab work. With my personal life, I like the teaching atmosphere, and I like the flexibility of the schedule that works with that, working here at the university. But I also felt an incredible debt to the great science educators I had in school. I had wonderful science teachers in grade school, in middle school, and in high school. So when I got to college level biology, I was prepared. It was difficult and I had to work hard at it. I still remember the class that I teach being hard, but I was prepared. I was prepared for it. I do remember when I was in graduate school and I would drive about an hour to my field site where I did my work. It was in Central Texas. And on the way there, I go, this is what I went to school to do, is to be able to do this kind of work and understand these kind of systems in society. So something that what I did in graduate school is I worked on succession. So there was an area below the Belton Lake Dam that there had been heavy rains that year. It was in the early 90s, and the lake had gone over the spillway, and it had just scoured to the bedrock this one, they call them hollers in that part of Texas. They're like little canyons, and so that gives you primary succession when you're down to bedrock. And then I compared it to a comparable holler that was just downstream. There's the Leon River there in that part of Texas. And so to look at what had been there originally and then what was there now, and we looked at it 3 years after. So what was coming back in primary succession. So on campus recently, looking at abandoned drill sites on campus and looking at succession there, what's coming in and what will come in is something that I want. We started some baseline data this spring that I'll be looking at with students over every semester to look at what comes in, how it comes in, and looking at succession on our campus. Well, my favorite part of biology is ecology, and it's the last topic that we cover at the end of the series of Biology 1 and Biology 2. And I feel like it really ties in a lot of ideas together because it shows non-living abiotic things like water and oxygen, and then living tissues, organisms, and how they interact and how they depend on each other. And then within the living systems, it looks at what humans, each other with ourselves, how the human population interacts, and then moving on to other living things that we interact with, whether it's the bacteria that are in us and live around us, or if it's our pets that we have, or if it's insects that we have in our houses or in our yards. And then moving on up to larger levels, things in our region that affect us and how we affect them, and then also looking at the globe, things that affect us. And so I think it's important for students to see that their behavior affects other individuals like themselves, other humans. It affects things that are non-living. Their effect on how they use resources, how they dispose of resources. And then looking at global trends that maybe they directly don't have an effect on individually, but they see the effect on their lives in their area, in their community. So whenever we start that topic, we always start with our miles square campus of UTPB. And then like Google Earth, we just kind of keep going further and further out. And the students can always come up with things that they recognize, and to show them they know ecology. They just haven't called it that. They haven't used the correct terms that we use in science, but they've known and experienced that. So I think that is my favorite part of science.